U.S. government issues a business advisory for Uganda. U.S. government issues a business advisory for Uganda. Media note. Office of the Spokesperson. October 23, 2023. The Departments of State, Labor, Health and Human Services, Commerce, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, today issued a business advisory on Uganda. The advisory informs U.S. businesses, individuals, and other U.S. persons, including health services providers, members of academic institutions, and investors, of potential risks they may face if they are conducting, or contemplating to conduct, business in Uganda. Businesses, organizations, and individuals should be aware of potential financial and reputational risks resulting from endemic corruption, described in more detail in the 2023 Investment Climate Statement, as well as violence against human rights activists, media members, health workers, members of minority groups, LGBTQ+ persons, and political opponents described in the 2022 Country Report on Human Rights Practices in Uganda. Uganda's enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act (AHA) on May 29, 2023, further increases restrictions on human rights, to include restrictions on freedoms of expression and peaceful assembly, and exacerbates issues regarding the respect for leases and employment contracts. How new U.S. business advisory could affect Uganda's tourism, investment climate. Chimp Reports, by Kim Anya, October 24, 2023 at 9:08 a.m. Feedly AI found one regulatory changes mentioned in this article. The Ugandan government says the law, which restricts activities of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex LGBTQ+ community in Uganda by introducing penalties including death and life imprisonment for certain types of homosexual acts and has met stiff resistance from mainly Western countries, is meant to protect the African traditional marriage. The United States has warned its citizens of potential risks of conducting or contemplating conducting business in Uganda, after the East African country passed the anti-homosexuality law. The Ugandan government says the law, which restricts activities of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex LGBTQ+ community in Uganda by introducing penalties including death and life imprisonment for certain types of homosexual acts and has met stiff resistance from mainly Western countries, is meant to protect the African traditional marriage. In a statement issued early Tuesday morning, the United States urged businesses, individuals, and other U.S. persons, including health services providers, members of academic institutions, and investors to be aware of potential financial and reputational risks resulting from endemic corruption, as well as violence against human rights activists, media members, health workers, members of minority groups, LGBTQ+ persons, and political opponents. Washington further said Uganda's enactment of the anti-homosexuality law on May 29, 2023, increases restrictions on human rights, to include restrictions on freedom of expression, peaceful assembly, and exacerbates issues regarding the respect for leases and employment contracts. The U.S. based its advisory on the 2023 Investment Climate Statement, which warns investors about risks related to endemic corruption and the lack of respect for human rights in Uganda. In addition, the 2022 Country Report on Human Rights Practices in Uganda provides additional detail regarding restrictions by the government of Uganda on an independent legislature and the lack of commitment to fair trial guarantees, as well as elite capture of critical institutions, including the military and police, said the U.S. There are risks associated with interference in and intimidation of the judiciary, use of influence in the courts to resolve political disputes, and co-opted security forces. Inconsistently implemented legislation, rent-seeking from officials, and intrusive government security and surveillance likewise can adversely impact the ability of U.S. businesses and individuals to operate. These actions may become more frequent in the lead-up to the 2026 elections. Similar patterns of violence and disregard for the rule of law occurred ahead of the 2021 and 2016 electoral processes. Uganda is yet to respond to the development, but President Museveni recently said the law mainly targets promoters of homosexuality and those who engage in the outlawed act. He said individuals who identify as homosexuals without engaging in the illegal sexual practices or promotion of the same would not be affected by the new law. However, the United States slapped sanctions on Ugandan officials following the enactment of the law, while European countries have warned the legislation will affect bilateral trade ties with Kampala. The World Bank recently said the anti-gay law would affect foreign direct investment inflows into Uganda. After a decline due to COVID-19, foreign direct investment (FDI) inflows into Uganda increased by more than 30% to $1.1 billion in 2021, pushing the stock to $16.6 billion. Western countries contribute a significant amount of these flows, said the World Bank. It is estimated that in 2018, the Netherlands, Australia, UK, Switzerland, France, and USA accounted for two-thirds ($7 billion) of the total FDI stock. The advisories from these governments to their citizens against travel or investing in Uganda may adversely affect these flows, said the International Financial Institution. Further shocks to FDI will weaken Uganda's external position, which remains fragile due mainly to global financial conditions, the bank observed, adding, a reduction in FDI would require turning to more borrowing to finance the current account deficit. Tourism and business. The U.S. advisories have the potential of undermining Uganda's tourism industry, which is an important source of foreign exchange and employment for the country. Uganda received about 182,000 tourists from the Americas, United States, Canada, and Mexico, and Europe in 2017. However, the number declined to 32,000 in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Uganda calves at Murchison Falls National Park. The inbound tourism expenditure by American and European tourists is estimated to have been $660.1 billion, US $177.7 million, in 2019. The tourist numbers were recovering post-pandemic. However, these may decline as several Western countries have advised their citizens not to travel to Uganda on account of threats raised by the AHA, said the World Bank in its Uganda Economic Update for the month of June, 2023. The U.S. today said the enactment of the AHA expands these risks and creates additional opportunities for interference with business operations as it, among other things, mandates reporting of individuals suspected of homosexual behavior, imposes a life sentence for consensual same-sex relations, and allows for a 20-year prison sentence for mere promotion of homosexuality, which is defined so broadly as to potentially cover a wide range of activities. Corruption. According to the U.S. 2023 Investment Climate Statement, officials frequently engage in corrupt practices with impunity, and many corruption cases have been pending for years. While anti-corruption laws extend to family members of officials and political parties, in practice many well-connected individuals enjoy de facto immunity for corrupt acts and are rarely prosecuted in court. This endemic corruption can impede U.S. businesses' ability to engage in government procurement processes and obtain necessary permits. It also poses reputational risks for U.S. companies operating in such a business environment. The AHA creates additional avenues for corrupt actors to extract bribes, delay permits, and hinder competition through LGBTQ+ reporting under the law, or threats of such reporting, which require little to no substantiation, said the U.S. Washington further alleged that the anti-gay law potentially increases these censorship risks by criminalizing a wide range of commercial activities that are of particular interest to media, broadcasters, the advertising industry, and related industries. The law prohibits and penalizes the printing, broadcast or distribution of material promoting or encouraging homosexuality. The law does not further define these terms, but in practice government officials have previously criticized media outlets by using a very broad definition of what constitutes promoting and encouraging homosexuality. In addition, the AHA is not explicitly limited to activity occurring inside Uganda, so broadcasters, streaming services and internet advertisers may face risks to their business in Uganda arising from activities outside of Uganda. Several U.S.-based communications companies such as Netflix, CNN Television, Google, Facebook and X remotely do business in Uganda.